24 hours, that's all. And yet most will waste them chasing shadows, scrolling endlessly, or numbing themselves to avoid the one truth that keeps returning: something is not right. You can feel it in the silence between distractions, in the tension behind your smile. This moment is not ordinary. It's not just another day. It is a call. And for those who understand, it is the final warning. I am Shi Heng Yi, and in today's message, we're going to look deeply into something that many misunderstand: the idea that God or the universe is angry. But this anger is not what you think. It's not rage. It's not destruction. It is discipline, a divine interruption. Just like a Shaolin master who strikes the shoulder of a drifting student, not to harm but to awaken. Across spiritual traditions, this force has appeared again and again. Plagues, storms, silence. Not punishments, corrections. Realignments. Reminders that we have strayed too far from what matters. In this video, you will uncover ancient lessons most have forgotten, the truth about distraction, the real reason you feel lost, and why these next 24 hours hold more power than you realize. Stay with me until the end, because this is not a message to entertain you. It is a mirror to confront you. And if you are ready to look into it, you may walk away with something far greater than knowledge. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. This is not just a channel, it is a training ground for the soul. Subscribe now, and remember, the master is not coming. You are the one you've been waiting for. Most people are not exhausted, they are distracted. They confuse motion with direction and speed with clarity. They chase the hours, trying to hold on to time, never realizing time was never the problem. The clock is not your enemy. It moves in silence without judgment. But your mind, if left unchecked, can turn even a full day into emptiness. The next 24 hours will not disappear because the sun sets. They will disappear if your attention remains scattered, jumping from one craving to another, one fear to the next. Shaolin teaches, wherever attention goes, life flows. Not energy, life. That is the power of presence. When you give your full attention to something, even something small, drinking tea, sweeping the floor, listening to your breath, it becomes sacred, complete, alive. But if your mind is in 10 places, even the most important task will feel hollow. The students at the Shaolin temple do not rush through the day. They move with purpose, one action, one breath, one step, fully awake. And so I ask you, what will you give your attention to today? Worry? Noise? Or stillness? If you waste these hours, it will not be because you lack time. It will be because you gave your awareness away a few seconds at a time. Do not try to control time. Control attention. Because time doesn't run out, you do. True warriors are not loud. They do not rush. They do not tremble when the world shifts. They move like still water, calm on the surface, deep in power. At the Shaolin temple, urgency is never confused with panic. The monk does not sprint when the bell rings. He rises, breathes, and steps forward, because he has trained the body to obey the breath, and the breath to obey the mind. This is inner mastery, not in theory, but in motion. Most people live as if urgency means anxiety, as if moving quickly must also mean being afraid. But fear clouds action. It tightens the muscles, shortens the breath, and steals precision. The monk knows this. That's why he trains, not just to fight, but to stay calm inside the storm. This is your moment to train the same way. Can you feel the weight of the next 24 hours without letting it crush you? Can you act swiftly without breaking your center? Can you sense the importance and still move in silence? Urgency means now, not chaos. It means presence, not panic. In Taoist teachings, the master rides the tiger, not by overpowering it, but by moving in harmony with its force. He does not fight the storm, he aligns with its rhythm. The pressure you feel is not a threat, it's a test. Can you be both a flame and a mountain? Because real strength is not just power, it is poise. And those who remain centered when the world shakes are the ones who shape what comes next. The fiercest battles are never fought outside. They unfold in silence, behind your eyes, within your own mind. The ancient texts do not speak of enemies with horns or swords. They speak of something quieter, far more dangerous. The whisper that says, "Not now." The craving that promises joy but leaves you empty. The urge to escape, scroll, delay. All of it masked as comfort, yet designed to steal your purpose. Desire, delay, and distraction. These are the true demons. Not because they are loud, but because they are subtle. They do not shout, they seduce. They arrive as pleasure, but leave as poison. Desire tells you that peace is out there. Delay tells you that your moment is not now. Distraction tells you that your pain should be avoided, not understood. But ancient wisdom teaches this. What you run from rules you. A warrior of the spirit must learn to sit with discomfort, to recognize the moment desire arises, and choose discipline instead, to see the trick of delay and act anyway, to feel the pull of distraction and return to breath, to stillness, to now. In Shaolin practice, discipline is not restriction, it is protection, a shield against the inner enemies that seek to scatter your strength. The mind that is not trained will betray you, but the mind that is mastered becomes your greatest weapon. Your path will never be blocked by the world, only by what you allow within. And once you confront the real enemy, not with hate, but with awareness, you become unstoppable. Because nothing outside you can defeat the one who commands himself. This day is not ordinary, it is a furnace, and you are being invited to step into the fire, not to be destroyed, but to be purified. Every breath you take today is a chance to let go, to burn away the layers that no longer serve you, the false stories, the heavy regrets, the excuses that have shaped your silence. The ancient path of mastery does not begin with learning more, it begins with shedding. Shedding the blame that keeps you small, shedding the habits that keep you numb, shedding the noise that keeps you asleep. In the Shaolin tradition, purification is not symbolic, it is lived. It is the cold morning air on bare skin. It is the repetition of form until the body forgets effort and remembers essence. It is the silence between movements where ego dissolves and truth is revealed. This is not a time to seek comfort. It is a time to seek clarity, not by adding more, but by subtracting what is false. Look closely. What are you still holding onto that weakens you? A grudge, a craving, a belief that you are not ready. Today you stand in sacred fire, and fire asks for surrender, not suffering, surrender. Let it burn what is dead, let it burn what is hollow, let it burn the mask, because only what is real will remain. You do not need a lifetime to begin again. You need 24 hours of honesty, 24 hours of presence, 24 hours of courageous letting go. This day is not a deadline, it is a door. Step through it and leave behind everything you were never meant to carry. Words are easy, they are wind. They stir the surface but rarely touch the depth. The world is full of talk, promises, plans, philosophies, yet so few walk the path they describe. The sacred way does not ask for more talk, it asks for action. Not grand gestures or perfect conditions, just one clear, honest act, the one you've been avoiding. Shaolin discipline teaches that real transformation never waits for the right moment. It begins in the moment you decide to breathe differently, move differently, live differently. No permission, no applause, just one breath, fully owned. The teachings are not hidden, they are simple. Wake up early, breathe with intention, move with purpose, speak less, act more. Yet simplicity demands strength. It demands that you stop escaping through ideas and step into direct experience. You already know what needs to be done. The thing that feels uncomfortable, the truth you've delayed, the habit you said you'd break, the silence you've avoided. That is your doorway, not the next book, not the next video, but the action right now that demands your courage. In the ancient texts, this is called Dharma in motion, wisdom expressed not through thought, but through the body, through choice, through presence. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, but it changes everything. The mind loves delay. The spirit only knows now. Speak less today, move more, honor your word with action, because one act, done fully with awareness and sincerity, is worth more than 1,000 hollow intentions. Real mastery doesn't begin in theory. It begins when you stand up, breathe deep, and do the one thing your soul has been waiting for. The path is not hidden, it is simply buried beneath too much noise. The mind, when restless, turns everything into confusion. It runs in circles, searching for answers in chaos, reaching for distractions to avoid stillness. But stillness is not emptiness, it is clarity. It is the doorway through which truth enters. Noise is not just sound, it is also thought, overthinking, doubting, constantly planning, fearing, comparing. These are the clouds that block the inner sky. And unless you are willing to sit with silence, the storm never passes. Shaolin wisdom teaches that true direction does not come from outside. It rises from within, but only when the water is still. Just as a lake reflects the moon only when undisturbed, your soul reveals its guidance when you stop stirring it with endless noise. To do nothing is not laziness. It is a sacred pause, a return to breath, a moment of reverence. In that pause, the next step becomes obvious, not because you figured it out, but because you stopped interfering. Discipline in stillness is harder than discipline in action. Sitting without distraction, without reaching for stimulation, requires a warrior's strength. But in that sitting, your heart begins to speak again, gently, clearly. You were never lost, only distant from your own depth, and the path was never far, only hidden beneath layers of mental noise. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of self, and in that presence, the guidance you've been seeking becomes impossible to ignore. So stop, breathe, listen. The way forward is waiting in the quiet. Discipline is often mistaken for punishment, a burden, a cage, but to those who walk the inner path, discipline is none of these things. It is devotion, it is love in its most grounded form. Shaolin monks rise before the sun, not because they must, but because they choose to honor the day before it begins. Their routine is not forced, it is sacred. Every movement, every breath, every repetition is a quiet offering, a prayer made not with words, but with presence. What looks like pressure from the outside is actually freedom from within, because discipline clears the noise. It removes the constant need to decide, to choose, to wrestle with the mind. In its place there is rhythm, flow, alignment with something higher than impulse. The world teaches us to chase comfort, to follow emotion, to wait for inspiration. But the ancient path teaches something deeper. When you act with discipline, even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you are not a slave to your moods. You are the master of your own energy. Discipline does not limit your life, it sharpens it. It clears away what is unnecessary, so the essential can shine. And in that clarity, love is revealed. Love for the practice, love for the moment, love for the self who chooses to rise rather than retreat. Every day you return to discipline, you return to your center. And each time you rise when it's hard, move when it's heavy, or stay still when the world pulls, you are not just practicing control. You are honoring your soul. Because the highest form of love is not always soft. Sometimes it looks like structure. And sometimes it sounds like silence at dawn. Death is not the enemy. It is the final master, the one no one can avoid, and the only one that always tells the truth. Most fear it because they misunderstand it. They see it as an end. But the ancient teachings speak differently. Death is not here to haunt you. It is here to awaken you. When you remember that your time is limited, life becomes sharp, focused, pure. You stop wasting energy on what doesn't matter. You stop postponing the things that truly do. You begin to see clearly, not because death is near, but because awareness finally is. In every sacred tradition, from east to west, the wise speak of mortality not as a punishment, but as a mirror. It reflects what is essential. It humbles the ego. It breaks the illusion of control. And in doing so, it opens the path to real freedom. To live as if these 24 hours are your last is not morbid. It is medicine. It brings the moment alive. The air becomes sacred. The silence becomes golden. The smallest gestures, a breath, a glance, a word, carry deep weight. Shaolin discipline embraces this truth. Every action is done with full attention, as if it could be the last. Not out of fear, but out of reverence. Because when death is accepted, life is no longer wasted. You don't need more time, you need more presence. You don't need to escape death, you need to learn from it. Let it teach you how to love deeply, move clearly, and act without delay. Not later, not someday, now. Because when death is your teacher, you stop sleepwalking and begin to truly live. There is no perfect moment, no magical sign, no voice that will give you permission. The beginning is always now, quiet, small, and easily ignored, but it holds the entire path inside it. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision, and that decision begins with a single breath, conscious, steady, full of intent. One breath that reminds you you are still here. One step that proves you are still able. Shaolin wisdom teaches that the journey does not truly begin with motion. It begins with stillness, with the moment you choose to rise. Not because the path is easy, but because it is time. The first real step is the one taken in the mind, the vow made in silence. Forget how far you've fallen, forget how long you've delayed. The path does not ask where you've been. It only responds to where you are now, and what you are willing to do with this moment. The mind may pull you backward, dragging regrets behind it, or it may leap forward, overwhelmed by the distance ahead. But the warrior returns to now, always now, because now is the only place strength can live, the only place peace can breathe. Begin again, not tomorrow, not when it feels easier. Begin with the next breath, the next choice, the next word spoken with awareness. Each time you begin again, you reclaim power. Not because the step is large, but because it is yours. This is how transformation happens, quietly, relentlessly. One breath, one step, one unwavering return to the present. And the one who chooses to begin again, again and again, that one becomes unshakable. In the noise of the world, it's easy to miss the deeper message, but now you've heard it. This moment is not punishment, it is invitation, an opening, a chance to return to what's real. The next 24 hours are not simply about time, they are about attention, intention and presence. You've been reminded the path is not found in chaos, but in silence. Not in escape, but in discipline. Not in waiting, but in doing. So take this message with you, not just as a thought, but as a practice. Breathe deeper, move with purpose, act from your center. Let every hour ahead be lived awake. And if this voice found you today, perhaps it was meant to. Thank you for walking this path with us. If the message spoke to something deep in you, we invite you to support the journey by liking this video and subscribing to our channel, Shaolin Soulfire. Until next time, walk gently and walk true.